First graders, we're back to practice looking for some of those features we just saw in the video in a book together. The book I have chosen to practice looking for nonfiction features is called Seeds. And this story is by Grace Hanson. This is the very first page in the book. And as you can tell, right off the bat, we see a text feature that we don't find in fiction books. It's called the table of contents. The table of contents is kind of like a map that tells us what's inside the book. When we're reading nonfiction, we don't always have to read the whole book from the beginning to the end. We can pick and choose different pages that we want to read where there's information that we're specifically looking for. For example, if I wanted to know about the seed's parts, I would go to page 6. So the table of contents is something that you will find in nonfiction books. Here we have a page that says a seed's job. I'll quickly read it to you and then we can talk about what we notice in the picture. A seed has one job. It is to make another plant of its kind. Here we have a photograph. Nonfiction books usually have a lot of photographs. This photograph is considered a cutaway. That means that in order to show us something that we normally couldn't see, they've shown us what's hiding underneath the ground. Here you can see the different parts of a seed as it's starting to grow. Normally, we don't see the stuff that is underneath the ground, but this picture, a cutaway, shows us those things so we can understand how a plant grows. This page says seed parts. The outer layer is called the seed coat. It protects everything inside the seed. This page has labels on it. A label is a word that tells you what's in the photograph. For example, I see 3 different seeds here, and they each are labeled with the seed coat, showing me how the seed coats look different on each seed. There's also a caption underneath each seed telling me what seed it is. A sunflower seed, a chestnut seed, and a field bean. The next page says, inside each seed is a tiny plant. This plant is called an embryo. Embryos need water, oxygen, and warmth, and then they can grow. Page 9 over here is showing me a picture with a label that says embryo. Here is the beginning part of the plant that's going to be growing. Now, not only this is a photograph and it has a label, but we would also call this a close-up because it's taking something so tiny and it's making it very large so that we can see the details. Think about how tiny a seed is. Think about how big this picture is of a seed. It's called a close-up. Growing. When the embryo grows, it breaks out of its seed. This is called germination. The radicle is the first thing to grow from the seed. The radicle is a young root. Another label. There's the radicle. When you're growing your beans at home, you can look for the radicle to show up as well. In some seeds, a young stem emerges next. It is called the plumule. Another photograph showing it and the radicle. The stems and leaves grow towards the sun. Leaves use light to make food for the plant. The roots grow downward. Roots collect water and food for the plant. The lower they grow, the more nutrients they find. Now, I know on the video it might be tricky for you to see that this word nutrients is written in a little different color. The author did that so that it stands out for you and me as a reader to say, that's a new word. Maybe you know what that word is and what it means. Maybe it's a brand new word for you. Either way, that's okay, because we're going to be seeing this word in the glossary in a few minutes. So remember this word nutrients, and it'll show up again. In a photograph, you can see another cutaway. It's showing what's happening underneath the ground with the roots. The plant is strong. Now a flower can grow. The flower's job is to make more seeds. Another close-up. Do you know what that's a picture of? It's a picture of a flower petal and zoomed in really close into the middle of it to show how the flower is making its own seeds so that it can make more flowers. This last page over here is showing us kind of a diagram from seed to plant. And it's showing a cutaway too, showing what's happening as that plant begins to grow. There's even some labels in there too. Same thing down here. It's showing the special things that are happening under the ground before it comes up to the top. See if your plant does that too as you're having your experiment at home. Here's another page, glossary. Now, I referred to one of those words earlier in the book that was typed in a light gray color that looked a little different. That might have been a new word for some of you. I'm going to look for that word on this page. It might be hard for you to see, but it says nutrient. There's that same word that I saw a few pages back. This glossary page tells me what nutrient means. Nutrient means something that gives nourishment for growth and health. So the glossary is a great place to look if you're encountering new words and you don't know what they mean. The last page in our book is called the index. And if you remember, the index tells you where you can find certain words throughout the book. For example, if I wanted to know where seed coat was talked about, I would find the word seed coat, and I know it's mentioned on page 6. Maybe I'm just looking through this seed book to find information about the seed coat. Then I know right where to go. All right, first graders, stay tuned for another video where we'll practice looking for some more non-fiction text features in a different book. Stay tuned.